One second here. Okay, thank you for watching here on YouTube at Blooming Light at Blooming Tribe. And look at the description box, the links. Well over 2,000 videos if you don't know about who I am and yada yada. So here's the message of the day for targeted individuals like myself. And, chances are you already know this. So this is just going to be confirming and re-edifying your inner knowing and alignment with your sovereignty. It's just going to help to strengthen it even more than it already is. So, of course, what begins to happen as you begin to speak out on the journey, as you begin to defend or stand up for yourself or speak up for yourself, as you break the silence, as you begin to call out things, and your stalkers, your ops, your handlers, those that have been offered something, whatever they've been offered, okay, to surveillance you, to watch your movement, and whatever type of surveillance. So we're talking anywhere from the highest sophisticated, organized criminal enterprises to just your everyday small time community that are bullies, okay, and anything in between. Okay, so in other words, clicks. And what's another word for click? Cult. Okay, even though most people don't know that, that's essentially what cliques are. Okay, cults. Okay, and especially if they have those foundational principles that define what a cult is. Okay, so as I'm saying, you're going to notice that, especially if you're a content creator, because a part of the means in which they have been surveillancing you is through your social media. That's one of the things that they use as a gauge to determine what's on your mind, your location, any and everything that they could pick up on. And in some cases, it's only serving to make them pissed because they're stalking you and they're hearing you speak truths about life, about your experience. And if they're on the shitty end of it, if they're on the end of the ones that are doing fuckery, then they're going to be feeling some kind of way. They're going to be offended. And the big pow boom about that is they got to kind of like keep it on wraps because they're not even supposed to be stalking you or watching you, or they're trying to claim that they are not watching you on social media. But if they're not watching you on social media, and I'm going to say this over and over again until enough people catch the drift. If the targeted individuals are content creators and some of the ops and the stalkers, okay, like literal on foot, on land, or just even people who don't like them, let's say in the community that they live in, the surroundings, the city and the state, if the targeted individual is not dealing with anybody there, and if these people aren't watching them on social media, then we need to answer a question. How do they know anything about what the targeted individuals are creating? How do they know anything about what they're saying to get mad? That's where I'm going. Because guess what? There are people that's been talking about me long before I knew that they were in a negative light, starting with my own relatives. And you know why? I mean, I knew in my inner knowing, but I didn't know in terms of like, I thought it was a possibility I was discerning wrong. But for a very long time, that was happening. And you know why I didn't know, and I wasn't responding at those times? Because guess what? I wasn't stalking their lives. I wasn't on their social medias or their lives and their people that they run with so that I would know anything about any of that. You see that? So when you are, that's the thing. This is another way. I know I'm a little off track, but this is another way that they start exposing themselves without even knowing that that is actually what they're doing. Because again, if they're everybody or if they're trying to claim like I ain't watching them on social media, I don't have a TikTok. I don't even be on social media like that. Ain't nobody watching them on social. Okay, okay. Then what are they mad at? If these individuals are indeed not stalking the targeted population that are content creators, and the targeted population do not have friendships or they're not in the streets or it's they're very secluded in terms of their their life, upset about what are they upset about? Answer the question. See, we're gonna have to face some hard questions that we don't want to face. What are they bothered by to be a people that claim to not be watching somebody on social media? Because if they don't know the person and they don't know anyone else, that you see that no connections, no interlinks whatsoever, then what problem, especially if the person keeps to themselves. I mean, especially that, I could see it, some people just need to, they all up in people's faces and doing too much, you know, but especially if they keep to themselves for the most part, what is the problem? See, that's a tell whether people want that to be a tell or not. It's a tell that either if it ain't social media connected, if it's not that they're discrimination, prejudices, racism, different types of discriminatory things such as discriminations based on politics, philosophical and spiritual bents, religion. But even with that, how would they know? Okay, or African American, that's just something visual. Your gender, that's something. But even the other stuff, is it because they see you with crystals or what I'm saying? Once again, once again, these unspoken, subtle energy ways in which they're doing it without knowing that they're doing it. Now, some they know they're doing it and they don't care. I mean, because it just depends on how far gone they are. Okay, because they were asked to do it, they were offered something to do, and it's just as far as they're concerned, somebody gave them, boom. It's just it's business, albeit corrupt, but it's business. Okay, but to the topic at hand, I believe the title says same strategies or something like that, stalking by proxy. So what you're going to discover is those are the ways they're going to shift. They're not really changing. That's something that I've observed over the last few years. It doesn't change, it shifts a little bit. Okay? And when they see that you see, right? When they know that you have identified certain people, they simply just shuffle the deck. So, case in point, let me just give an example. Let's say in a particular community, there was a woman that she, for the life of you, it almost seems like you're on cue or on sync. If you're moving, they're moving. If you're taking out the trash, they're taking out, check the mail. If you're out and about, then suddenly they have to walk their dog at that time. And but once they know that you have identified certain individuals, what they'll do is sometimes, like I said, you all have heard me say they'll use the youth. So let's say for the ones that have kids, they may use like their teenage kids, but if they don't have kids, let's say they have nieces, nephews, stepchildren, um, that are youth, ranging from, an age that they know who you are, they can visibly, report to the person, the woman in this example, who was originally, every time you went outside, it seems like in sync, they suddenly needed to take some trash out as well. And you patterned, once you start patterning people's movements, they just put different players in there. In some cases, if it's not something like that, they'll just bring in a new player. Because, listen, there was two gentlemen, and both of these men, one was maybe Hispanic, Asian, you know, the other one's African American, and they both were connected or have friends or associates some kind of way of Delta manner. And but they were both be like walking around and always seeming to appear to like cross my path and have this like weird, they both shared this little weird eerie vibe about them. They both had this weird, eerie smile and just moving weird, just to cross my path, just to, you know, be weird. The one with the long hair, whatever their culture is, when that became clear that I identified that person for sure, okay, once it became clear, then it shift. That's when they brought in the other dude. That it's almost like it's a cult of, again, a cult of gay dudes. Okay, that's involved with this stuff. A cult of gay dudes, bisexual dudes, down low dudes. And I do not have problem with sexuality, so nobody don't need to even come for someone like me because I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with people wanting to be whatever they want to be. Okay, I do have a problem with people being toxic. So you being gay, you being bisexual is not going to stop me from calling out your behavior if you acting like a catty bitch as a nigga. Okay, I'm sorry. Not sorry. Canceling, delete, destroy, and create. So, because if you running with the strays and the thoughts and, whatever the fuck, the brother husbands and all that, and you being foul, you know what I'm saying? Then I'm not going to have no special place. It's like, oh, because they're, no, it's like, no, they still should have some fucking decency. You would almost think that because of it, they would, because of the sometimes the cruelty and the injustices that they live as a population themselves. But sometimes they don't deal with that wounding and they're projecting out their hate like every other sexual preference, every other person. Okay. So, anywho, that's what you all need to know. They will just shuffle the deck of cards. Okay. Some cases, they're going to go back into the Rolodex, hoping that you don't remember because of all of the gaslighting and all of the head fucking and manipulation and spell work. They're hoping that you don't remember and just recircuit the Rolodex maybe after about 6 months or so, and see if you'll know that they're an op, if you'll know, they'll test it. Okay, but it's going to be the same thing. They're going to always try intimidation tactics. So they're going to always try to use, a security guard, or, they're going to exploit those things to try to scare you, to try to make you shut up and make you no longer record. And that's just not going to happen. The only thing that's going to happen is they're teaching you just to be as slick as they are, if not better. Because if it's your life on the line, you have, you're worthy and deserving of doing whatever you can to help yourself, especially if you've attempted to go through proper channels and to no avail. You're not to just sit there and allow yourself and your children to die or to get hurt or just to simply continually to be harassed like that without doing something. No matter what the fucking rules are, you will just simply find a creative way. Every time they call themselves entrapping you to get you caught up on doing the very things in which they've been doing on you and beyond. Okay? Because surveillancing by proxy is still stalking. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say I was a stalker. I'm going to give the physical example. Let's say I am stalking. Okay? Maybe I don't look like it. Maybe I don't seem like it. Maybe I put on a good show. I seem like I got my life together. I got everything I want and need, and I'm sister fine, and you know what I'm saying, whoop, and but I'm really insecure, and I'm a control freak. And when people don't bow to me, or when my relationships go kaput, when I thought my pussy would, my pussy, my money, when I'm so used to that, and that shit go awry, and say I'm a stalker. Okay. Especially when those things happen where I'm used to having power and control, where I'm used to having people bow to me and lick my bootstraps and, you know what I'm saying, lick my toenails and whoop. And my stalker obsession ways starts to catch up with me because it's people are starting to notice that I seem to come out of a reputation. Let's say I'm a law enforcer, or someone in some kind of a business and profession that have absolutely no business conducting like that. So then what I would do, because obviously I'm not okay in this obviously something is not well within me. Okay. Obviously there's some things that I need to work out and work through. And it's only even more evident um, recruiting people to do it for me. So if I'm trying to be inconspicuous after realizing that I'm not, and then I'll ask a young adult. And why is that something that is typical of what they're doing? Because most people aren't going to be suspecting that. The targeted individuals typically aren't looking at youth as some of their ops. They're not looking at these teeny boppers. When I say teeny boppers, I'm talking about ranging from maybe 15, 19. Okay. Most of the time, we're not thinking of them because first and foremost, it's like, well, they're kids, especially 15, 16. They're kids. They're in high school. But the way they use them is in this kind of scenario. They may not use them for the more serious stuff, but they will use them as surveillance by proxy. They'll tell them to use their phones because guess what? All youth and teenagers are always on the phone. So they'll tell them to use their phones to record, to take a picture. They'll do that. They will tell these teenagers to do that. Okay, that's to try to keep their phones and the devices in the clear. They will tell them, you know, to just report, did you see them? If they're not going to have them to take pictures, if they feel like their family or associate stuff may get subpoenaed, then in that case they'll just say, they'll see you, the target, through their window, through whatever the ways in which they've always been seeing, or through the fact that they are hacking your device. And then they'll tell um, the teenager or that youth, go take out the trash, or go walk the dog, go take the dog out to poop, or go act like you're taking the dog out to poop, or take out the trash, and tell me, did you see them? What did they do? They went, what they did. Yeah. So they'll simply just shuffle the deck of cards. That's what you need to know. But same strategies, same stuff. Surveillancing you, watching you, whether that's literally in proximity to you, and then executing the stalkery by proxy connected to someone, so that they're no longer being seen. Now, here's another reason why they do that, though. If they've found out information that, just like their corrupt enterprises stalking you, that integral authorities are in the background, maybe on a federal level, because if they've been alerted and they are investigating to catch people and all these groups and all of these players and so forth, if they know that, then they're trying to hide their face. Okay, once they know, they're like, okay, so we stalking, we got this going on, but we ain't the only ones around. There's the feds that are not involved with our shit is somewhere, and they cannot be detected. They look like, you just not gonna even notice them. Some of them are bums laying on the sidewalk or just sitting there with glasses on, looking like, they're there. They're somewhere. Some of them may even be driving cars and sitting and doing the same moves that they doing. You see what I'm saying? Parking in the parking lot, seeing who's circulating in the parking lot and who's sitting in their cars, and they may be tapping in because they're trying to investigate. They may, people putting shit on you or your kids' doors and patios, and that kind of shit. It's like, okay, this person ain't imagining shit. And I tell you, the wind did not pick up a whole bag, pick it up and have it to squeeze between the bars or under the bars or jump over the bars in order to get come on, man. that that's intentional. That's placement. Okay, you can't say that, oh, accidentally dropped off the balcony, dropped off and flipped into the one. Huh? Mm-mm. And so now the feds could be like, okay, let's see who's circulating around over there, because this is some weird shit. So let's do what they're doing, so we can gather the data about who's doing shit, what different groups and individuals that are possibly residents, and then other people who are coming. So they'll change faces so that as the feds are investigating, okay, then they can be like, okay, we don't see them doing anything. So you all continue to just do what you do, speak your truth and anything that you're aware of. And this will possibly point the feds to looking at other factors, because when you're who are not right in the head and who are hell bent on these agendas, and one of those agendas is making the target population look like you're somebody just mentally unstable when they're the ones harassing you and your children. Ain't that some shit, huh? They're harassing you and your children, but you are mentally unstable. Child. Anywho, they're stalking y'all, but you mentally unstable. Because, see, if they were anything sincere and legit, let me tell you what I believe. Even if they were sincere and just wanting to find out, well, if they were doing legitimate detective work or legitimate private investigatory work with no ill will and bents, then they stumbled across the truth that you're not. Because they're going to be looking from an objective standpoint and at all things that are being presented. That's another way that you know they be on that bullshit. But I do not consent to now bitch and nigga coming in here playing with my energy. And in fact, as you're doing this, you're going to get your ass whooped more and more. So every time you come into my world doing rituals or just simply projecting your hate, you're killing your own life by my decree. You're killing and putting judgment on your own blood. Abracadabra is my command. And I use all these toxic energy investments and I make it my bitch. And I'm going to continue to make it my bitch. I'm going to make it work for me. How? Oh, we'll see. I'll work it out. Yes, we don't consent. And we command. We command. See, collective, they're looking at you, honorable feminine, the girl with the louding voice. And when I say the louding voice, it's not even the louding ghetto voice. The louding voice is that your words, you're speaking something that's screaming truth, screaming revelation, screaming intelligence, and they gon' fucking hear you because you're the girl with the louding voice. But your louding voice is not one of ignorance, and it is not one that they can stereotype and stigmatize you into just another angry black woman. They're not going to be able to fly with that. They're not going to be able to angle you're someone that's mentally ill and disturbed. They're not going to be able to angle you're some kind of a fiend and addict. Oddly enough, these are the very people that they hire to comfort you, but that's another day. They're not going to be able because you're speaking in such a way that's bringing command. It's going to force people to look into something because for far too long, it's been too easy not to. It has been too easy because people don't want to make their friends or family upset. So they let. Okay, there we go. These fancy schmancy phones, when they overheat, they close off on you. In this case, it shouldn't have been overheating. This is just another confirmation that my phone is hacked. Because one of the signs is it's rapidly overheating for no apparent reason. Because really, there's no reason. The location I'm in, what I'm doing, um, Yeah, there's no reason for it to be overheating. That's how I know that they're using. I found out about a certain program. Was it Fisco or Fisco, um, which is a program with some of these security, police agency, law enforcement illegally use for their own personal bents. And some of them from stealing, because I had all sorts of weird shit happening to my accounts and stuff, and now I know why. Now I know. Now I know. So, um, anywho, you all, to rest. I know I'm being guided, to speak out, do my things, and then pull back. When I need some R&R, and then when the R&R is unnatural, when they're doing their stuff, I'm guided to break it. I'm shown by my inner self how to do that, because that's another strategy. Make you tired and make you think that it's something that's natural, to make you think it's just from healing and from energy work, from perimenopause, anything, just so you'll just lean into it. So what I've been doing is I set my intentions and do my own little tests, because I'm like, well, in case of foul play here, I'm going to I'm going to make this my bitch. And if it happens to be that it's nothing, then I'll lean into what I need to lean into. But I'm not automatically taking tiredness or sleepiness as natural, because sometimes they'll do that when they know that they can't really do anything else, or to try to limit the kind of karmic whoop ass they're going to get from your ass and your spirit team. Okay, to try to minimize that. It's like, well, if they just accept, tiredness, then, if they just accept that, and then I can just get them to waste their life, and then, my karma won't be too bad. Yes, it is. It's still going to be bad. Because that's just another way to try to rob somebody in a passive aggressive way. Keep living your truth. Keep speaking your truth. Keep clearing, aligning all the things you're doing, because it's high time the world listens.